Has there been any discussion about you being pardoned or someone using you as, like I said, a political chess piece? Because it would be a smart thing. And if anybody has had a problem with the intelligence community, it is Donald Trump. I mean, he's the only president in any memory that has had open disagreements and been openly disparaging of the intelligence community.
Well, that's not true. There was JFK, but that didn't go very long.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot about that. Good point. Yeah, that went terrible for him. For Trump, it actually seems to be a positive in some strange way. If anybody is going to pardon you, I would imagine that would be the guy.
So this idea of the political bargaining chip has actually been used in a different way. There was the idea, and it's funny because this was actually promoted by all these like CIA deputy directors and whatnot, who were responsible for these abuses of Americans' rights, who were writing opinion pieces in the newspaper, and they were like, what if Vladimir Putin, sends Snowden to Trump as like an inauguration gift? Wouldn't that be terrible for him? And they were like, hint, hint, But I don't think when we talk about this stuff, I don't think there's anything I can do to control it. One of the things people have asked is like, would I accept a pardon from Donald Trump? And I think that misapprehends what a pardon is and how it works. A pardon is not a contract. A pardon is not something that you agree to. A pardon is a constitutionally enumerated power. I think it's Article 2, Section 2, where the reason that it exists is basically a check on the laws and the judiciary, where the laws as written become corrosive to the intention of them. And this is something that I think actually is meaningful. People are like, are you going to ask Donald Trump for a pardon? And the answer is no. But I will ask for pardon for Terry Albury and Daniel Hale and Reality Winner and all the other American whistleblowers who have been treated unfairly by this system. The whole thing that brought this up was 2 weeks ago. Some journalist asked the president, like, what do you think about Snowden? Are you going to pardon him? And he said he seemed to be thinking about it. He heard I had been treated very unfairly. That's accurate. Because it's impossible to get a fair trial under the Espionage Act, which is what I've been charged under. And every American whistleblower since Daniel Ellsberg in the 1970s has been charged under this law, the Espionage Act, which makes no distinction between someone who is stealing secrets and selling them to foreign governments, which neither I nor any of these other people have done, and giving them freely to journalists to advance the public interest of the American people rather than the private interest of these spies, individually. And this is the kind of circumstance for which the pardon power exists, where the courts and judges will not or cannot end a fundamentally unfair and abusive circumstance in the United States, either because they're fearful of being criticized, of soft on terrorism or whatever, or because the law prohibits them from doing so. The problem with the Espionage Act is it means you can't tell the jury why you did what you did. You cannot mount what's called a public interest defense, where you say, hell yeah, I broke the law. I took a classified document and I gave it to the journalist, and the journalist published it, and then it went to the courts, and the court said, this guy was right. The government was breaking the law. In the courts, if I were, in prison today, as Reality Winner is in prison today, or rather Daniel Hale, who revealed government abuses related to the drone program, or Terry Albury, who revealed problems with racial policies in the FBI, how they were being abused. When these guys are on trial, all of that stuff is forbidden from being spoken. Daniel Ellsberg's lawyer asked Daniel Ellsberg, why did you do it? In court, in open court, under oath, why did you publish or provide to journalists the Pentagon Papers? And the prosecutor said, objection, objection, he can't say that. And the judge said, sustained, fine, he can't say it. And his attorney looked at the judge like he was crazy and said, I've never heard of a trial where the jury is not allowed to hear why a defendant did what they did. And the judge said, well, you're seeing one now. And this is why the pardon power
Jesus.
exists.